got called over here because you're making the people very uneasy here.
Camera? How? A camera?
We're standing outside the building, sir, filming people coming in and
It's a
going.
public place, right? I'm legally okay to do
Do
this.
you have some ID?
No, sir.
You have no ID?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. Y'all have an AOA form?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Here, step over here for me.
What's an AOA form?
Yeah, explain it to you when you come over here, okay?
No, I'm not coming anywhere.
No, sir, you can't stay here.
What's up, you guys? Welcome back to Southern Draw Law. My name is James White, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor, former police officer. Today's video comes to us from Shelby County, Tennessee, and it depicts a First Amendment audit gone awry at a post office, of all places. The auditor has a YouTube channel called Gen X Press, and he was doing an audit on a post office when he had the following interaction with the Shelby County Sheriff's Office in Arlington, Tennessee. Now, the source video is over 30 minutes long because the auditor very intelligently wanted to sort of capture the totality of everything that was going on. If you've ever watched Jason Gutterman on the Amagansett Press, a lot of times when he's doing videos, they're sort of, double as travel videos, but he always records like sort of the what kind of day it is, what are the conditions, time, temperature, that kind of stuff, because all of that will come into play if you're ever in a lawsuit, and that's why he does it. But another thing about the Amagansett Press channel is that they basically built their channel on these type of interactions, and a lot of them were at post offices. And so it's sort of interesting because this is one of the least confrontational interactions you'll ever see, but it went south anyway. So just know that I have made substantial edits to the video for the purposes of our discussion, but I encourage you to head over to his channel, see the video in its entirety so you can kind of get the whole context and to give him credit for sharing it. Let's watch.
All right. Look around through here. See if we can find poster 7. Check out the lobby. Don't see the poster 7. Where's your poster 7? I don't see it anywhere. Huh? The poster 7's outside? Okay. All right. Try to find it. Oh, here it is. Okay. Poster 7, we got to check that out. Oh, what do we have here? Like, give me a better car than that.
You good, sir?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you tell them?
I did.
I-
I did tell them.
You know,
I sent it back.
you know what, ma'am? What's your name?
Second Lieutenant Bennett.
Okay.
1 second. 506. This young man is reporting, which he has the right to. No other car is needed.
Thank you. I was just going to tell you, since you did that, I'm on my way. I was getting ready to leave, and she said, she came out, she said, you can't do that. I'm going to call the police. I said, no.
I said you got to read the law.
No, I got to stay here. Because I don't want you guys thinking I was up to
Yes,
something.
sir.
I just want a
Yes, sir.
resolution. So
Yes, sir.
you did educate her though.
I told her. I told her he has the right to. If it's open to the public,
Yeah.
he has the right to.
Yeah, and I wasn't
report. I said
antagonizing.
If he's harassing anybody,
Yeah, I wasn't. I
then
don't.
I can say something.
I don't do that.
If not, he has the right
I'm
to
sorry,
do it.
ma'am. You can come on by. I apologize
Yes,
for
sir.
that. Yes, ma'am. I'm going to be on my way, and I appreciate your
All right.
professionalism
Yes,
and your
sir.
courtesy.
You're
Okay.
welcome, sir. Have a good one.
You too. Have a
Yes,
wonderful
sir.
day. Fired. I'm fine. How you doing?
Good. Somebody called because they were saying that you're out here reporting. what
Yeah,
you do.
which I'm legally allowed to do, and they know that.
Okay. Well, what are you doing? Just recording?
Yeah, just record. Practicing my First Amendment rights to
Okay,
record.
that's fine. But I'm gonna go in there and talk to them, and If you do want to record, you'd have to step out there because technically this is your property, okay?
This is public property.
This is their
Yes,
inside there.
which is a post office, which is public property. Seriously, you don't know that?
I mean, if they don't want you...
There's a poster right in there that says I'm allowed to be
Alright,
here.
well, I'm going to ask them.
Wow. Did not expect that.
Okay, so just right off the jump, I want to say that the Memphis police officer that he featured in his example audit deserves props because she handled that exactly the way it should have been handled. And I'm glad that he showed that in order to contrast the experience that you were getting ready to see with the Arlington audit. So the Memphis police officer, I believe it was Second Lieutenant Bennett, deserves to be commended for the way that she handled the audit itself. Now you'd think 15 miles up the road in sort of a quiet suburb, well-to-do sort of West Tennessee town of Arlington, you'd get the same result, but apparently no. Now the first thing that sort of strikes me as problematic is this is like one of the most uneventful post office interactions you'll ever see. Like I said, if you've ever watched Amagansett Press, a lot of his, especially the early ones, were very tense and very contentious. And so you'll understand if you've watched many of these post office audit videos, they're a lot worse than this. There was really nothing to this, but as usual, before the Ponytail Patrol even makes contact with the complainant, she's already taken a position that the auditor is in the wrong, and she doesn't even know why. And you'll find out at the end of the video that she still doesn't quite know what she's doing, but she's already decided how she feels. But the most alarming part of the whole deal is that this deputy has no idea how any of this works. She doesn't even know the difference between public and private property. She doesn't have the ability to think about whether she even has a jurisdictional problem. She said she's going to go into the post office and ask them how it works. I mean, I'm no rocket scientist, but if they called you, it's pretty clear what their position on the issue is. But you have a bit of an issue here as a police officer because you're actually on federal property. And you clearly have never opened the internet up, so it would seem to me that the first thing you'd want to do as a cop is to maybe take a step back and call someone who might know more than you. But that apparently does not register on her radar as far as things that she should do, at least not initially. And then we'll learn that the person she ends up calling was not any better than her, but I digress. Of course, though, all she's really interested in is proving something, which, spoiler alert, won't be proven, by the way. And so, of course, she is aggressive and snarky, as the female officers that we see on YouTube typically are. Guys, I swear, I've made the statement multiple times, I've never ever worked with a female police officer who acted like the ones we see on YouTube. The female officers I worked with were such level-headed people, and they were excellent communicators. And I know y'all probably find that hard to believe because of what we see in these videos, but I'm being completely honest about it. I guess the reasonable officer, male or female, is just an endangered species in 2024. Let's continue.
I must be really scary, guys. They rolled two up on me. Filming. Just practicing my First Amendment right to film in public.
You just like filming what? Filming?
Yeah, oh yeah, I do it all over the country.
Okay.
Public property.
Yeah.
I don't antagonize anybody. I just sit back and let people come to me if they want to talk to me. So what will happen next is if they do try to pull some shit on me to get off the property, I'm going to ask for a higher up to come out because I will not be leaving public property. It's just not going to happen. Sorry. I haven't even talked to anybody really. I haven't talked to one person. I talked to the lady I opened the door for. And I talked to the person behind the counter, asked her where poster 7 was. And that's it. Have a good day, guys.
We're about to talk to you.
Oh, okay.
For you to record, you're going to have to be on the street, okay?
No.
Yeah.
This is a public space.
There's limitations.
No limitations. No. First off, you're on federal ground. This is federal property. So even if you did want to trespass me, you'd have to call the postal police. Yes. Yes.
So what we're going to do, we're going to fill out AOA forms. We are going to trespass from here. today. Okay.
Let me go live real quick.
So you got your ID on you?
No, that's definitely not happening.
Okay, then it's gonna be one or two. Either you leave or I'm gonna find a way to get you out of here because if you know your First Amendment rights, right?
Call a sergeant.
I will. I was
Right
just gonna
now.
tell you the same thing.
Right now,
You're-
call a
hold on,
sergeant.
I call them whenever I want. If you know, I understand that it's public, right? But
No, you
if
don't.
Okay, well, if you do your side of your homework, you'd understand that there's certain restrictions. One of them.
Do you know how many thousands
Shut
of
up, I'm not done
videos of
talking.
people out here
I'm
in
not done
post
talking.
office
I'm not
recording?
done talking.
All you got to do is
In
do a
order-
quick YouTube search.
Hey, why don't you give him that website so that he informs himself? Because he's telling me what I'm trying to, convey to him. But since he doesn't want to listen, he can talk more than he can.
Yeah, I'm a little upset because my First Amendment rights are getting
I'm a
trampled on
little
right now.
upset that you're making life difficult for no reason, and that we're asking.
It's a camera.
Okay, well they don't want you.
I haven't even talked to anybody.
Exactly, which is what I was trying to tell you. For you to record, you need their permission, and they don't want.
That's
you
not. Do you want me to show you poster 7 right now?
Hey, show him that thing that that they have on their website about all this.
You can show me. I will show you poster 7 right now. You guys, you're gonna get yourself into a lot of hot water here. Yeah.
What's going on, sir? How you doing, sir?
Hello.
What's your name?
Hey, good citizen.
What's your name?
Good citizen.
What's your legal name?
Good citizen.
Let me talk to you then, sir.
Okay.
I'm Sergeant Christian, all right?
Mm-hmm.
And we got called over here because you're making the people very uneasy here.
Camera? How? A camera?
We're standing outside the building, sir, filming people coming in and
It's
go.
a public place, right?
It's a public place, but we're the business, sir. Okay? And if the people that's doing business here don't feel safe,
Oh, I thought
Here.
so. You're here to
so what's your name?
you're here to protect laws, not feelings,
Sir,
right?
what's your name?
Good citizen. I'm legally okay to do
Do
this.
you have some ID?
No, sir.
You have no ID?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. Y'all have an AOA form?
Yeah,
Okay. All right. Here, step over here for me.
What's an AOA form?
We'll explain it to you when you come over here, okay?
No, I'm not coming anywhere.
No, sir, you can't stay here, okay? So either you can go home.
Okay. Well, let me
Sir,
explain
sir,
a couple of
No,
things.
I'm going to explain it to you, sir. You cannot stay here, okay?
Okay.
cannot
What
stay
happens if I do stay here?
Okay. What's your name, sir?
What happens if I stay here?
Sir, what's your name?
I'm not giving you that.
Hey, by the way, if you know poster 7, then you know that under disturbances it says you're impeding their right to want to work because they're intimidated by you
I'm
standing in
impeding-
front. Yeah.
So as you probably know, the poster they're referring to is the infamous sort of USPS poster 7, which is supposed to be in every post office, and it has some interesting provisions. So let's take a look at that real quick. So we'll scroll down here, and the first thing that we want to talk about is photography, which in my opinion obviously includes videos, but photographs for news purposes may be taken in entrances, lobbies, foyers, corridors, or auditoriums when they're being used for public meetings, except where prohibited by official signs, security force personnel, etc. So that is something that you need to make sure of if you're going to go out and audit. You do if you're going to, you don't have to, I guess, but if you're going to be as protective of your position as possible, it is a good idea to say that you are an independent journalist because you got to keep in mind. Now, again, this is not state law. This is the internal regulations of the post office. But people always refer to Poster 7 as if Poster 7 is supposed to open up this whole world of understanding for people. And it really doesn't. It just says photographs for news purposes. You got to keep in mind that these people think that the only news purposes that exist are people who show up with a news camera and credentials. And they don't understand, or maybe they don't want to realize that independent journalism really drives a lot of what we see in these type situations. And independent journalism is really starting to become one of the major areas that people get information. And so it is a good idea if you're going to audit, when asked and you're going to say anything, you might as well say that you're an independent journalist gathering content for a story, because then at least you're in compliance with Poster 7 and they don't have any sort of opening because you're using the photographs for news purposes. So another important provision is the penalties and enforcement section. So let's scroll down here and talk about that, because it confirms that the enforcement of the rules happens by people with federal jurisdiction and in federal courts. And note at the bottom of the enforcement section, it says that postmasters or installation heads may, with the approval of the chief postal inspector, enter into enforcement agreements with state and local law enforcement to ensure enforcement. So that confirms what our auditor says, which is that there has to be action by the postal inspectors or somebody with federal jurisdiction in order to get anything done like this. So in fairness, we don't actually know whether there is an agreement between the Shelby County Sheriff and the Postal Service, but just sort of reading the tea leaves here, it certainly doesn't look like these deputies have ever even seen a post office. So if there is a joint enforcement agreement, I guarantee they don't know about it or how it's supposed to work and have never been trained about it, because they clearly don't know what's going on or how they're supposed to act. My read on what's happening here is that the deputies inside conspiring with the postal staff to create a narrative that sort of lends itself to the idea that he's creating a disturbance, although we'll find out here shortly that she doesn't really even know what the definition of disturbance is. Now, the female deputy has come back out of the post office and she's spewing some sort of nonsense about impeding their desire to work or some such garbage, which again brings us back to Poster 7, because what she said was easily identifiable as verbal diarrhea, but the gift it did provide is that it made it obvious that she didn't actually read, or if she read, understand Poster 7. And the way we know is by going back and taking a look at that, because Poster 7 provides under the section for disturbances for the following very specific things. It lists disorderly conduct or conduct creating loud or unusual noise. Impeding, it does use that word, but it says impeding entrances and access to and from the building or obstructing areas of the building. So you have to remember, all he did was walk in and ask where the Poster 7 was and sort of walk around inside the lobby, which is completely fine under the photographing for news purposes. So these cops are just operating on their normal definition of a disturbance, and it looks like they didn't even bother to read Poster 7. And we all know that the normal cop's definition of a disturbance or an obstruction or disorderly conduct or whatever label they want to put on it basically means contempt of cop or whatever the person is doing that the cops don't like. That gets labeled as disturbance or disorderly or obstructing or wherever you are in the country, and whatever language is pertinent to this bogus thing that they want to be overbroad enough for them to abuse it. Well, that doesn't fly where disturbance in this context is specifically defined by Poster 7, which literally no one seemed to understand existed except the auditor, because it's clear that nobody read it. Now, this next part, and it's the last part, is very important. So watch this till the end and see what happens to our auditor as a result of this situation. Okay, let's think our way through this here. Number one, criminal trespass requires that you be unlawfully on the property of another, meaning not your own property. So post office property is public property, and if he's a member of the public, it's just as much his property as it is anyone else's, so I'm not sure how he's on the property of another. There may be a process undertaken through the enforcement section identified in Poster 7 there, but not immediately available to local police by like fiat, that they just say, be gone with you and you have to go. Number two, there's no need to identify in Tennessee unless there is a citation to be issued. Now, I guess you could make the argument that they might write a criminal trespass citation, and even though it might be an unlawful citation, they could still write it, and so they may still need to demand his ID and take him forthwith to a magistrate or the jail to identify him because he wouldn't give his ID. But again, I think that's going to ultimately unravel into an unlawful arrest that lacks probable cause, because I don't see how he could be criminally trespassed from public property that he ostensibly has some ownership interest in. So I believe any arrest based on that would be false. So you got false arrest for the criminal trespass part. You got First Amendment retaliation as the predicate for the criminal trespass. And then they forcibly turned off his camera and coerced him into deleting his footage, which thankfully he was able to recover in post, but they forced him to delete the footage. Number four, he created no disturbance as it's defined by Poster 7. Them choosing to be in their feelings and not working or doing their job because they don't like it is not an affirmative act by the auditor to create a disturbance. That has to be something that you intentionally do, understanding that it's going to create a disturbance or disturb people or whatever it is. We're not even sure that the local police can enforce the rules here. As you recall from the language of Poster 7, the postal inspectors, they even have to have consent from the chief postal inspector to even enter into an agreement with local law enforcement to enforce these rules. These folks, again, do not seem to even know anything about the post office. I'd bet money there's no agreement at all based solely on the way they acted so clueless about it. They think you have to film from the street in order to film in public, for God's sake. And then they apparently roughed him up to the extent that he had a panic attack that resulted in a stroke. And guys, I reiterate, this is one of the least confrontational audits you'll ever see on YouTube. In closing, I think this is just a complete exhibition of what not to do and how to be completely incompetent as a police officer. The sergeant was, as they often are, no different than the patrol deputies. The ponytail tyrant looked like she was upset because she was late for her next TikTok recording. And again, this sergeant looked like he wanted to be anywhere else except there. Not a one of them looked like they had ever even heard of a First Amendment auditor or seen a video on the internet. So I think this is ripe for a federal lawsuit, especially considering how mild he was. He will be, based on this video anyway, liked by a jury or a sympathetic plaintiff. And the fact that he had a stroke, that's serious damages. I mean, I sincerely hope that he finds an attorney in the Memphis area to take up his case. Now, I am a Tennessee attorney, but I don't consider Memphis to be Tennessee. That's like 6 hours from me, and you couldn't pay me $1 million to go to Memphis and litigate any case or go to Memphis at all. I went there to see Elvis Presley's home and B.B. King's restaurant, and I didn't leave a single thing in Memphis, and I'll never go back. But anyway, the other thing I wanted to say about auditors, if you're thinking about auditing, and again, this could be a guy who was in completely perfect health. I know nothing about him. I've never talked to him. I don't know. But if you're going to audit and you have anxiety issues and you could put yourself in a situation, or if you have high blood pressure, it's not worth it. What world will you change if you die because you went out there and audited and they did you this way and you got so worked up? You know, the idea that you could get some money for your estate for somebody that you might leave it to because the police killed you or caused you to have a medical emergency. I mean, it's not worth it. So, you know, if you're not in the kind of health that would put you in a situation where you can safely do this, I say do not do it. But anyway, I don't mean to say that to try to pick on him. I mean, it's important work and I'm glad that he's doing it. I wonder whether after all of this is over, whether he'll figure that this wasn't really worth the sort of damage that he had to experience as a result of trying to do this. So anyway, again, he didn't do anything wrong. It's all on the police, but I hope he's able to sue and recover some money as a result of it. So anyway, that's all for this one, guys. Please remember to like and subscribe. Leave a comment in the comment section. Let me know what you think about this audit. Let me know what you think about the way that the Shelby County Sheriff's Department in Arlington, Tennessee handled this case. Until I see you again, take care. Always film your interactions with the police and keep your evidence to yourself.